I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So that's me. Let me go ahead and explain myself what that is
Yeah.
about. On old business. Okay. So this is an idea that I've been thinking about for quite a while. I think it's actually fairly interesting. The idea is how do we unify all of our listings together into actually a journey? So the idea is sort of like, uh, is anybody aware that Airbnb launched Adventures recently?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the idea. So how do you actually create? Okay, this is what I'm thinking of, right? We shouldn't be agents. People can, oh, you're an agent, you're an agent, you're an agent, right? I think we should be like chefs. And instead of we have property partners, we have property providers. And so the idea is not essentially about how Bukit Vista just sells an existing thing at a markup to a guest. The idea is actually how do we craft an experience from putting together different listings or suggesting different itineraries. Now this is a goal that's a very high level goal, I think, for people who do reservations. Starting to connect this itinerary together. Like, I think if you really want to experience tranquility in Bali, you should stay first at this villa in Bingen that gets you a feel of the ocean. You should experience this villa in Ubud, and you should have this kind of stop over at this particular location. And I think you will have the experience of tranquility. Or maybe something else. If you want to experience adventure or thrill, you should start with maybe this villa, which is on the beach and it overlooks a huge surf break, and you feel thrilled. Okay, this is what I'm getting to. So what I saw, and Diva saw this thing too. This is a menu. Okay, this up here, if I can, cannot expand it. Okay, there it is. That is a menu. So this is a 3-star Michelin restaurant in San Francisco. And what happens is when you first go to the restaurant, they give you this poem, right? And the poem says, I touch the salted water and hold the against my eyes, like a little wildness swimming and leaving a beautiful reflection, oceanic feeling and distilled and pure. Love those black pearls. There came a wave of oceanic delicateness, strolling on the beach. It is in its whimsically ebullient and red umami, where the broad ocean leans softly against the Spanish land, the rawness of those soft-footed creatures, with a twinkle in my eye, watching them grazing, watching the beasts rest beneath the leaves, orange and long, a precious token, walking deep in the woods as the earth might have something to spare. Summer has come and is full of sweet surprise. Okay, so that's a poem, but that poem is essentially your menu. Okay, so what happens next is that after you get that, then your dishes start coming, right? And then each dish essentially represents a line in the poem. So the first dish is this, right? It's essentially just some, I don't know what it is, right? But it's essentially to express the idea. Summer has come with its cool breeze, right? So that you get one dish. And then the next dish to come is this. There came a wave of oceanic delicateness. So then that's your second dish. And so the idea behind this is essentially you are using a poem to create a journey, and then you deliver each of those lines across as an experience. Make sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the higher order of this is to think this way. Maybe, and this goes back to the idea of narrative. And this is what Claire and you know all this input is coming from owners, which is how do we actually get a narrative of, let's say, what we're looking for? And this is a very powerful idea because this can guide what properties are we looking for, right? What are we actually onboarding? What tones are we using? What narrative are we trying to tell people? And so instead of just going and finding, okay, I'm just looking for market building, I'm just looking for this, that, what is it that you're trying to do? So you can start with a poem. You can say, maybe for Jogja, for example, we start with a poem about the sky, and then about the earth, and maybe about fire, and then maybe about water. So you talk about sky, earth, fire, and water. So let's start with sky. Utara is up at the sky level. So you're talking about, I want to bring you to see the sky view of Jogja. I want to bring you up in the clouds, up in the air, so that you get a good idea of what the city is about. Then let's talk about earth. Earth might be something that's maybe something that's close to Borobudur, really connected, really earthy, really into that idea. if we talk about water, what's that listing in Jogja that has the waterfall?
Rumah Budi Susanto.
Exactly, and that. So you can say, now I want to bring you to see the water of Jogja, right? And this is a cool experience that gets you integrated with that. And then fire can be something else. So you can create a narrative around this idea, and then each listing you find, each story that you tell fulfills the narrative. And it creates a nice, beautiful, I think, complete experience from this. This is just a point of inspiration that I thought was quite interesting. It was like, if we can start doing this, then we can be a next level company. That our partners are not essentially partners, they're essentially suppliers. So they supply moments that create a journey, that then create a narrative, and then we deliver that narrative, we deliver that experience. So we bring you through to see the sky, to see the water, to see the earth, and to see the fire of Jogja. And we can do that everywhere. Okay, so that's the idea of that.
Yeah.
Okay, back to you, Chair.
Okay. Okay. So I think it is very, very good inspirational because many ideas can come from home. Okay. So I think it's good to keep on old business so we can keep remember because I think it's nice. Okay. So next on the review. Oh yeah. Sorry, Diba. Yes.
I wanna start a discussion if I may. Chairman, so I think it's good, it's beautiful, it's poetic, it's touching, but is it the right approach to our what's it called? Canvas, which is our market, our for the Airbnb readers, right? What does the traveler that wanna read a listing, do they looking for like a straightforward kind of like what's the benefit if I stay here instead of like, do they like to read poem or like do they want to know what's the benefit of that property? Because I think when they are looking for a listing to like holiday, our listing is not the only one that they read, right? So like they can probably just skim our copywriting just to like find out what's the benefits. I don't want to say features because it was better to like make them feel the benefit instead of telling them the features, right? So is this like the correct gun to like shoot our particular market? That's what the discussion I want to start.
Yeah.
I'll second that for the discussion. Yeah.
Okay. So is there any still idea of maybe not create an
Is there a person over to the side that we can't see, Gunny?
okay.
Oh, okay, to Chris. Okay.
Okay, so we next on the reviews. Oh yeah.
No, Diva started a discussion. So
Oh.
she wanted to discuss the idea of, I guess, abstraction versus concrete, right? Is that kind of like the theme? Okay. If I may,
Yes.
I think it's good to be a little bit of both, right?
Okay.
So my idea is this: if we're selling a cup, right? We can sell the cup two ways. We can say, this is a cup, it's made of ceramic, it holds 300 milliliters of water, and it has essentially a hard surface, and it has a coefficient of breakage of 0.6%, right? We can sell the tech specs on this cup. And I think certain people go like, okay, fine, cup, that's okay, right? You know, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for exactly that. But I think essentially there's also another way to sell it, which is essentially
Heat-free drink holder. Like
a drink holder, right? It serves a certain purpose. It's here to quench your thirst. It's here to keep your beverage warm or cold or whatever. And so it serves kind of like a benefit, right? So there's like features or facts, benefits. Okay, and I think the third way to sell the cup is essentially to say, this is an artistic creation that can define your lifestyle. This is essentially an expression of how you would like to experience the world. It's got this handle that just fits perfectly in your hand and is really delicate. It's got pleasing color. It's got like this fade away that Japanese artists have been spending eons in perfecting. And it's got a textured enamel surface so that it has, you know, you can talk about the craftsmanship. You can talk about the pleasureness. So you're not selling necessarily at like it's like a Maslow pyramid, right? You're not selling at like a physiological level or a safety level anymore. You're kind of selling at, yeah, at an esteem level. And perhaps you're even selling at a self-actualization level. Which brings us to the subject of what are opportunities, I think, in copywriting. So if we're writing copywriting, let's say, for example, to sell, I don't know, dog necklaces, or let's say we're selling something really mundane like a nail clipper, then I think the audience is simply looking for something cheap, functional, and that just gets the job done, right? Like a bowl of Indomie. They're not really looking for anything besides cost and satisfy my hunger. But if we are in the space, I think, of travel, then I think we've been given the privilege to actually be more aspirational. Because travel is something that I think people don't necessarily, they travel once a year. It's a holiday travel, Bali is a holiday destination. And so this is, I think, an opportunity to excite people. It's an opportunity to create some variation here. So if we just talk about that we're a 3-bedroom villa with a pool and it's got like this feature and it's close by the ocean, yeah, that's just facts, and that's not ever going to get us any sort of better positioning, or it doesn't necessarily even create a very exciting Bukit Vista image about what we want to be. But if we start talking about like a journey, if we start talking about this is going to change your life staying in one of our properties, and this is the reason why we think it's true, because it's just so awesome, right? How often do you stay in a beachfront villa and you wake up and you see a sunrise right over your toes, right? How often do you get to smell that ocean air, and how often do you get to see, like, you know, fishermen over the reefs at night picking out like little fish? I mean, these kinds of experiences I think are real. We might not feel so enchanted by them anymore because we're here every day, but I think for a traveler, for somebody who's experiencing Indonesia for the first time, or Bali for the first time, these are all touch points that can really excite the imagination. So I think we need a little bit of both. We need to say, all right, there's some facts, here's the facts, but here's our vision, right, for what these facts actually mean for you. And by doing that, I think it's okay. Some people will just simply shop for facts and they can look at the amenity buttons, be like, okay, 3 bedrooms, 14 people, that's all I need, click, book. We're gonna take those travelers too.
I
But-
agree on
yeah.
like the best of both worlds. I
Yeah.
feel like combine instead
Yeah.
of like just
Yes, of course. This is a very highly artistic style, but it's worked. It's a 3-star Michelin restaurant, right? So it seems
different
to
market than Astra.
different market today, and it depends. This is a vision. So this is really talking about a vision. What is the narrative of Bukit Vista? I think we've been having other brand discussions about this, right? If we restrict our narrative to we just sell stuff that is already there, then I don't think we really necessarily elevate the value of it. But if we're able to keep on pushing up the Maslow pyramid, where people have self-actualization, they come here and they're just like, wow, perfect, I'm gonna come back. As soon as possible, I'm gonna come back because I wanna feel that way again. Then I think then we're in a different territory. We're in a territory not of simply just adding a markup and selling it to a guest, but we're in a territory of actually bringing that excitement. And this is a vision, but it has to start with here. I think it has to start with, okay, where do we set our vision and where do we need to go? And Apple does it pretty well. Apple, I think, sets a pretty interesting narrative on their websites. They tell you what the dream is, right? The dream is, you know, oh, I remember this dream, right? Remember 1,000,000 songs in your pocket, right? Not like 400 gigabytes of data that you can use to download 10,000, you know. So that's essentially what we're talking about in terms of narrative. We need a really compelling narrative that gets people to go, yes, that's what I want. Yeah? And that I buy that vision. It's the next level. It's beyond reactive copywriting. It's beyond like just doing what the person wants. It's really telling the people what they don't know yet and inspiring them by telling them what you don't know that you really wanted. I know what you really want, and this is what you should have. So, okay, Eric, I think we talked this to death, but okay,
I call the question.
okay, yeah, let's continue.
Okay, so what's this next discussion? So what we have?
So I motion to close the discussion.
Oh, okay. So we close the discussion. Okay, so can I move to?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talk about responding to bad review is an art. Okay, so how to respond to bad review? I think Rizal has been discussed with Jing before.
Okay.
So so can you
Yes,
explain?
Mr. Chair, would you be able to open that document? So I believe
Oh,
that.
okay. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Okay.
Oh wait, sorry. What am I asking you to open? I should open the document on this side, right? My bad.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So if the secretary can scroll down, I'll describe what I was thinking about here. If we can go pull it up to the top of the page. I think a very important part of copywriting is actually how we respond to a bad review. Bad reviews need to be addressed by copywriting quickly so that we can limit, reduce the impact of a bad review. So the objective is to gain confidence and also get knowledge about how to manage bad reviews and not feel attacked or embarrassed or threatened when bad reviews happen. My inspiration was I looked at how a lot of five-star hotel general managers do it, and then I look at how we do it too. So I got kind of like two sides. So I think the first step to respond to a bad review is to read and not react emotionally. When you see a bad review, it often goes, "Oh, okay, that's kind of mean." But I think just be impartial and just look at the facts. And then when you're impartial and you just look at the facts, then it's very easy to address. Then you can actually tell if the review is genuine or if it's trolling. So if a person says really trolling stuff like, I had higher expectations of a brand like Bukit Vista. I mean, who the hell do they think they are? They seem to operate on Airbnb thinking they're kings and blah, blah, blah. But you realize that there's no facts, right? It's just all rhetoric. It's all just talk. And so that is essentially what I think is a troll. That is somebody who's just getting you and they're baiting you to respond back to defend your ego or to, correct the situation. So just really look for facts. If there's facts, then I think then there's a basis for authenticity in the bad review. If there's no facts and it's just like rhetoric, then understand that that is a troll, and don't feed the troll. Don't go back and tell him whatnot, because that just makes you look weak. It makes it looks like you need to go defend your image all the time. So then the step two is essentially consider your audience. You're not really writing back to that person anymore because that person won't even see your response. You're only writing to a specific audience, and that audience is anybody. Yes, future guests. This only matters on that. So please consider your audience. So know that that's your audience. Okay, then go back to the core values. Values you rely on. Think of being the hero, being transparent, don't assume use data, and details matter. These values are here to help us guide our thought process in kind of these challenging situations. So, if the guest is acting transparently, then our team should be able to assist 100%. Well, what does that mean? So, I think we need to talk about what was done during the guest's stay. So, the guest says, okay, these things all went wrong and blah, 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 blah. That's fine. So, the response to the bad review should be, you ask the air support, you ask the host, do you remember this guest? Yes, I did. Okay, all right. What do we do when this guest checked in? All right, did we wait for them? Did we mess with them beforehand? What was the process of our engagement? So I think that's the first step. Just detail what happened during the stay. And we can say something like this. Our on-site team is available during regular hours, and our hosts are available during most of the day via instant message. We respond to our guests quickly within a matter of minutes. Sadly, we didn't get this complaint, right, while you were staying, but if we had, then we could have made some arrangements to make your stay more comfortable during the stay, right? So I'm trusting that air support and hosts and everything are being fairly responsive to hosts. So we need to state that this is our service level commitment to our guests, and we do this every single time. And let's say, for example, they talk about bugs, right? So if they say something about bugs, you can say, about the bugs, ask anytime during your stay to our team and they'll be happy to address the issue, right? We have spray, we have other things that can keep bugs away. So just ask, and then we can provide you a solution to deal with, let's say, bugs. Okay, and then you can say something like this. We can say, we're open to hear guest feedback anytime online here, but we're even more open to hear about your feedback during your stay. So what you've done now is you've given kind of a code of normal behavior to a future guest. So if a future guest sees this, they'll see, oh, all I have to do is just ask you because you're open to receiving this. And if we're not, then we should be punished, right? We're failing on our commitments to our guest. But that, I think, then scopes and it details what we've done, and it creates a fact-to-fact comparison on the response to the review. Okay, what does everyone think of that? Does that all make sense?
Good point.
Okay, good points, yeah? All right, And then the question is to ask, did the guest actually refer to facts, or are they outbursting with emotions? And if it's emotions, then respect the way the guest feels. Say, hey, I'm sorry you felt like we ruined your honeymoon. I'm very sorry you felt like, this was the end of the world and you have never stayed in the worst place in the world. I'm very sorry you feel that way. But the facts are that, this is it, right? The facts are that our hosts do this. Our service level does this. Mosquito. Mosquitoes are present everywhere in Indonesia. I'm sorry they had to bite you, give you dengue fever, and ruin your holiday. But the facts are, when you come to Indonesia, when you come to Nusa Penida, there's going to be bugs. And you might not like bugs, but you might like the outdoors and the rusticness, and you might like not having cars and noise and all this stuff. This is kind of part of the reality of coming to this place. So these are things that are not in our control. Okay, so that's step 3. Is step 3 clear? Okay,
Yes.
great. Let's go on to step 4. Address what can be addressed and don't get stuck. So we know the equation, which is disappointment is expectations minus reality. So if you can change the reality, then you just need to change the expectations of the guest to make them feel better. The issue that I always talk about is the P-trap issue. So we know a lot of properties that are newly built are built with no P-traps. So we get a lot of bad reviews, especially in Nusa Penida. Rizal knows these things. And they say the bathroom is really smelly. And so that is a problem. And that's a problem because that's a lower Maslow issue. That's like on probably safety. Like hygiene is kind of related to your safety. You don't feel you feel like you're gonna get a disease from being in a dirty bathroom. So it is an important issue. It's not trivial. So the question is, can you change the reality? Can you actually make the bathroom not smelly anymore? Well, it's not easy because we have to tell the owner. The owner has to close the room. The owner then has to get a contractor, demolish the floors, and install a new P-trap. That costs time, that costs money, and most often, owners are not that motivated to actually change it. But we can change maybe the air freshener, so we can provide air freshener so maybe it doesn't smell so bad, or you just smell both smells at the same time. Or maybe you can just be funny about it and say, hey look, the bathroom is kind of bad, here's a gas mask if you really don't like the smell. You can kind of be like almost quirky about it if you have the trust of the guest, right? So you can overstate it. Here's a gas mask, put the gas mask in front of the door, and just say, use a gas mask if you really can't stand the smell. And they might think it's kind of funny and you're cute and you're being like in a joking way to them, but it sort of addresses the issue that there is an issue, and please don't think it's anything beyond that. Limits the impact of it. Okay, so let's say you don't have too much control on changing the reality, so what can you do? So all that you can do is change the expectations. You have to let them know, hey look, smelly bathrooms are not dangerous. It's because there's a P-trap and the smells are coming up from the tank. I know that's actually pretty unpleasant, but you're not going to die. It's not because there's shit on the ground that you can't see. It's not because we didn't clean the toilet. It's because of this, all right? So isolate that issue. Just get it down to just a very, very narrow cause, and then focus on the bigger picture. Well, besides the bathroom, was everything else okay, right? Did you come to Nusa Penida specifically to think about your bathroom, or did you come here with another purpose in mind? So zoom out and say, hey look, I'm really sorry that you had like a bad experience here in our bathrooms, but I understand that during the rest of your stay, everything was actually quite great, and I think that you spent most of your time actually snorkeling and diving and enjoying some of the other parts of Nusa Penida. So we do apologize about the bathroom issue. It is related to the P-trap, but I think in general, guests that come here and can spend just as little time in the bathroom as possible, knowing that it's clean, will have a very pleasant stay here. And so you've isolated the issue, you zoomed out the scope, so that it's not like we're all focused on this one particular thing. We do know that there's other things involved in the experience that do contribute to guest satisfaction. And then highlight the good points that went well. Most guests, if they've given an accurate review, will have some good things to talk about, and I think those are good things to address again in your response in the review. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, all right. And the most important thing is practice. Practice, practice, practice. There's some things that, like, essentially you just need to try over and over again until the flow gets better. And once you get more practice, I think then the skill becomes a lot more natural. So, for example, this is a response I wrote. The guest at this place is labeled with the wrong address. tell your driver Manta Cottages is a little bit further. The cottage itself has a beautiful view and nice surrounding. The room is simple, but there's no secured windows, so hopefully you can deal with the bugs. A huge cockroach like I experienced. There's no hot water, as most of the time it's hot and humid. Pool is nice, staff are helpful. BB specifically made sure my partner and I got a motorbike drop off where we needed it. Even picked up at the port when we finished. So this is my response. So I would say, hi, guest name. Thanks for your feedback. We're always keen to hear ways that we can improve here at our cottages. We told our content team, and we did, we put in a content request, to reposition the address pin so that future guests, the addressing audience, won't have any trouble finding the location. As regard to the bugs, it's a bit outdoors here and we're surrounded by nature on all four sides. So that's good for fresh air in a natural tropical setting, but nature doesn't knock on the door before letting themselves in. We trust the rest of your stay went well, and we'll hand out some bug spray if you need it next time, right? So essentially we've addressed the issue, we framed it out a little bit, and we've sort of considered, hey look, you're getting one thing, and you know, it's like this. You go to dinner and you order steak. And you go like, well, I didn't get chicken. But you order steak. So steak came with steak. Why? So the idea is that, right? If you've chosen this place because it's natural, if you've chosen this place because it is, you know, a nice non-urban setting, it's relaxing, it's close to the beach, there's not too many people around, then you've chosen some other things that come with that too. You've chosen that you're gonna have to accept a little bit of nature. Bugs, hey look, truth be told, bugs are everywhere. Even cockroaches are everywhere. Go to Four Seasons, there's cockroaches. If you look for them, you'll find them. So there's no essential way to eliminate every cockroach around, but there is a way to, I think, explain it so that it's not like, a cockroach ruined my holiday. Well, really, let's be honest, how many times did you see cockroaches on the walk through Kuta? How many times did you see cockroaches walking through Ubud? You're gonna see cockroaches, right? Does it mean it's not clean? Does that mean we shouldn't visit these places? Maybe. If you don't want to see cockroaches, then live in a clean white box that is cut off from the world. But this is what I mean. Zoom out, look at the bigger picture. The cockroach was just a small portion of your stay. It does not mean we don't clean the place. It just means that nature just kind of let itself in. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. Okay, let's go back to the ascending document. Okay, back to you, Chair.
Yes. Okay. So thank you for this idea. I think this is very very good, especially for our support and handle web review or handle a complaint for WhatsApp. That's very good. How to implement it. Okay. So next, move to practice inspirational from Indonesia Raya. Oh, we have to. So would you to explain again?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I think we've already done that. So we essentially tried putting different titles to these pictures, and that worked out.
Okay, so let's. Okay, so please, Mr. Secretary, to delete it. Okay, thank you. So let's move to new business inspiration about National Geographic. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. Move to new business about knowledge. Ting has built a skill share subscription to learn copywriting online. Oh, wow. So what is this, sir?
Okay. So because copywriting, I think, is showing up more and more as some feedback that we're hearing. So what I've done is I bought. What the fuck is happening? Why are we getting so many cancellations? Okay. Okay, sorry. Yeah. What? You guys seeing all these cancellations coming in? It's like,
Oh, I think it's a stacked up, sir. Some of these guests already cancelled like few days.
What?
okay. So be it.
Oh.
Okay. Look. So I want to have all of us get better at copywriting. So I bought this subscription. If you feel like you need better direction on how to do copywriting, if you're like, I don't know where to go, there's a lot of copywriting classes in the Skillshare. So please log on using those credentials and start watching whenever you're sitting in the toilet and you're like doing nothing. Just put it on your phone and have a crap and watch how to do copywriting, right? So I think, anyways, that's just there for inspiration. So that's a new resource. Please use the resource.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. it's very good. Okay, please, that's secretary to move it to all business, please. Okay. All right. Okay, nice. Okay, so let's move to practice. Result and Jing will write copy on lot 5 lounge.
Okay. Rizal, I remember you wrote a copy, but I'm not sure where it went. Or I saw you writing something, but I'm not sure if it was here or somewhere else.
Hilang ya?
Okay.
I think,
Okay. Let me just share this real quickly. So this is just an exercise on writing copy for Villa Olala, which was lot 5 and launched. I think I went over. I had a hard time writing this. Honestly, it was. I had this huge writer's block. Yeah. So both Diva and I both wrote our renditions of it, and I think we just got some practice. I'll skip it over because we just we can't review it right now. I think we're almost out of time. But I just want everyone to know that we do practice, and I think we should have just a habit of doing practice from time to time on in copywriting.
yes, Diba, please.
Is this ongoing process to practice?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the best practice to practice here in the writing guild?
Oh, good question. Okay. I think there should be essentially like just a challenge, maybe, and that can be brought up as new business from any content people. If you feel like, oh, hey, here's an interesting product, I want to create an opportunity for everybody to just practice copywriting, then I think bring the listing to this guild. Bring the listing and say, hey, look, I'm opening up the floor. I've already launched this already, but what could we have written for this villa? And then we can all just have practice. And there could be 1 version, 2 versions, and 3 versions, like what we do for digital marketing. And we just compare it, and we read everybody's copy, and then we evaluate everyone on the score. So we can just have a system where we all practice, we all try, and we all get better.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Okay. Good. So I think should we move on to all business?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So the last one is inspiration.
Okay.
Okay, the last one. National Geographic and then schools.
Okay. Mr. Chair, what I propose is this. We have this similar system on the Revenue Management Guild. What I'm proposing is I think we should have a library, and we essentially just start putting in good stuff in the library. So my proposal is essentially this, that we attach an extra document, and we can call it the Bukit Vista. Oh, right, it's already there. Oh my God, fucking moron. Okay, all right, so excuse me, it's already been created.
Okay.
So I think what we can do is we can ask the secretary to just transfer over anything that we want to remember and refer to from time to time inside the copywriting library. So the first thing I'd like to actually ask the secretary to transfer over is the poem, the food poem, right? So maybe we can put that in the library, and the secretary can just move that over to the copywriting library. And then I think the second thing we can transfer over is probably the
Skillshare?
Skillshare, sure, yeah, Skillshare I think is good in the library, yeah.
It's like a source paper, right?
Yeah, okay. Then I also think the Skillshare can be moved over to the library as well. How to respond to a bad review can also be moved over to the library as well. Right, so we can move all of these things sitting around in old business to the library. Okay, and then National Geographic. National Geographic is actually quite. Oh wait, what? That's Entrepreneur magazine. What? I'm confused what I did. Okay, so I seem to have a National Geographic title, but I have. Oh yes. Okay, this can go in the library too. So these are the 10 commandments of great copywriting. So I think this is just a good article for us to be aware of. It's stuff that we've already talked about. The first thing is know your audience. Determine your value proposition. Just think about what you're really trying to get people to buy. Find your unique selling proposition. Is what is it about this particular property that makes it unique and different from other properties? And establish an objective. What do you want people to do? What's their call to action at the end? Use a compelling subject line. In this particular case, it would be a title. So use a cool title that gets people excited. And okay, there it is. Write a great headline.
Yeah.
Avoid weasel words. That's cool. Hope, maybe, wish, try, but could perhaps strive. These are weak words, I think, that create hesitation, that create doubt, uncertainty, and it just sounds like you're not really confident and you're apologizing for the product. So don't use this kind of words because it just, it doesn't create any strong narrative here. Don't use passive voice. That's good. Say I can, this can, not like. So use active voice. That's pretty key. You can use a customer quote. Wow, what a great idea. So instead of saying like I call this such and such, look for a review that said most incredible experience of my life, and then put that up at the title, right? And that can be actually a pretty interesting way to then reactive. We're taking actually guest feedback, and we're feeding it back into the into what other guests will see. And keep your copy clean and concise. So I think this we can also put in the library so that we have these resources here. Okay, God, I spoke the whole time during the copy. I feel so bad. It feels like Jing's lecture. Okay, maybe as we get more expertise, we'll have more. Yes. Okay. So
It reminds me of something. Right now, I'm currently feeding myself a. It's actually a good book. It's called Right to Sell, and then I was like making a Trello for all this. I really want us like to read this together, but I don't think that's possible. But right now I'm extracting the major points. So like I think I will create like a paper containing the points of that what I think it's great from that book, because I really want to share it with you guys. It's a really good book for.
Fantastic. Let's put that in. That can be part of our inspiration. Yeah.
Inspiration or knowledge?
Both. Inspiration kind of gets us, like, let's say, past our knowledge. So what we know, and then what we aspire to be, I guess, is the trajectory. Okay. So, Mr. Secretary, we can put that. Oops, the whole thing went away. Okay. And the last thing I wanted to share was this.
Yes.
I think Chris saw this, Deba saw this, but I'm not sure if the guys in Jogja saw this. Please watch this masterclass with James Suckling. He talks about, and this is why I think it's so inspirational. Wine is actually a very, very boring. Hey, actually, speaking of wine, Laura is from Bordeaux. Laura! Chris knows Laura, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Laura is one of our friends from way back in the early Airbnb days. She's French and she's from Bordeaux. She might know something about wine. Okay, maybe not.
Wine is the best.
She knows Bordeaux is the best.
Yeah, the only thing missing in Indonesia is wine and cheese.
Wine and cheese. Spoken like a true French person. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. So here's my analysis of wine. Wine essentially is kind of like the same deal that we have with villas, accommodations, and everything. Generally speaking, it is sort of a liquidy, alcoholic, great beverage, and it's pretty much the same. If you look at, like, let's say wine coming out of taps, like from a spigot, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But yet, people who are really good at distinguishing wine are very, very, very crafty in their choice of words, in their choice of analogies, in their choice of descriptions. They make the wine far more interesting and poetic than what is just basically fermented grape juice. So, what I thought that this guy, James Suckling, did was he used a lot of vocabulary. He used a lot of description. He used a lot of analogies, a lot of gestures, and this starts making the wine far more like you're trying to detect what he's talking about, right? You're trying to, like, do I really detect steeliness? Do I detect linearity? Do I taste the tannins and the character and the body? Do I feel the rocks that created the heat to grow the grapes? You know, he talks all about that stuff, and I think that's great. I think that really sells the wine. After a while, you're just like, oh my God, I've got to try that. Like, so much effort went into making this, so much thought. The families, the land, the weather, the conditions of the ocean, the streams of air, the rain, the shape of the raindrops that hit the leaves, you know, the flow of the air through the vineyard, you know, all this stuff. And it makes you start wondering, wow.
What am I doing with my life? I've not tasted this wine.
I should taste this wine. And so please watch that, right? And hopefully that will inspire you to also think very. It's about that detail. It's about that construction. And once you have that, you can take even something that's pretty simple, like a guest house or a glass, and make it amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to you, Chef.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for sharing, sir. It is very useful. Okay. So I think it is the end of this copywriting field. Wait. Let me discuss about the next chairman and who is the